A few years ago, I created my own Pokemon game. I'm not really good at ROM hacks or anything, so I built the overworld in Minecraft and then did all of the battles on Pokemon Showdown. At the time, I had my siblings play through the game that I created, but I was wondering, can I be my own game years later as a hardcore Nuzlocke? I found my old documents in my Google Drive, asked my friend to play as the enemy trainers, and began my Nuzlocke journey. The journey starts out in Peach Town, where I say goodbye to my mom and head to Professor Baobab's with my friend. At the professor's lab, I choose my starter from the Kalos options, Phineas the Fennekin. In the grass in Peach Town, I catch Seymour the Seedot. Then it's a quick trip down Route 1 where I catch Naima the Nidoran before arriving in Marigold Town. In Marigold Town, I meet a young boy named Sam, and we head into Temporal Forest, arriving just in time to see Celebi sucked into a dimension to another world. Sam is distraught, but we must continue onwards, and I catch Pearl the Petalil in the forest. Route 2 connects Marigold Town to Marengo City, and I catch Amy the Apom. Marengo City is home to the first Rock-type gym leader, Rachmaninoff. But first, I have to head into Narrow Cave to find him. I catch Gordon the Zubat in the cave, then Rachmaninoff and I head to his gym. Rachmaninoff's first Pokemon, Roggenrola, doesn't have any Rock-type moves, so I send out Gordon to deal some damage with a mixture of Absorb and Supersonic. When Gordon's health gets too low, I switch to Naima, who can take Roggenrola out with a super effective double kick. Rachmaninoff's only other Pokemon is Aron, who is 4 times weak to fighting, so I keep Naima out to take it out with double kicks. Before I can head to Route 3, I need to face off against my friend. He has 3 Pokemon starting with Cutiefly. Cutiefly is easy to take care of with Phineas's Flame Charge, and Froakie comes out next. I switch to Petalil, who uses Sleep Powder, Leech Seed, and Mega Drain to defeat it. Finally is Nuzleaf, so I switch into Gordon and use Wing Attack to finish the battle. On Route 3, I encounter Sophia the Solicist before my friend and I run into 2 members of Team Gold. From talking with them, we get the idea that they are the ones who kidnapped Celebi before they run off. I stop in Birchtown, then head into the Sleepy Swamp, where I catch Morton the Morlul. I meet up with Yucine and Suicune, the legendary Pokemon who keeps the water of the swamp clean before he too is taken into another dimension. Yucine then tells me that he is the Birchtown gym leader, and we head back for my second gym battle. Yucine is a grass-type gym leader in this game, so I start with Phineas to take out his Morlul. When he switches to Lombre, I switch to Gordon to avoid being hit by water-type attacks. He uses Wing Attack to take Lombre down, and Yucine's final Pokemon is Phantom. I switch back into Phineas and take out his final team member. I head back through the Sleepy Swamp to Gainsborough City, home to the Fighting-type gym. I can catch Man the Machop in Gainsborough City, then I can go ahead briefly to Route 4 to catch Ash the Pikachu before I enter the gym. I enter the gym ready to face Danielle. I start with Gordon to take out her Meditite with Wing Attacks. I keep Gordon in against Machop until his health gets low, then I switch to Morton to finish it off. Her final Pokemon is the slightly terrifying Hawlucha, who almost knocks out Morton, but fortunately I'm able to hit with a Sleep Powder. Once Hawlucha is sleeping, I switch into Pikachu and finish it off with Electro Balls. After the battle, I run into Looker, who tells me he is investigating Team Gold in one of the buildings in the city. We battle some grunts together before getting to the General of Team Gold. His first Pokemon is Riolu, so I lead with Phineas, who takes it out with Psybeams. Golbat comes out next, so I move to Ash, but his Poison Fangs do a lot of damage. Ash's static ability activates Paralyzing Golbat, but Ash gets poisoned and goes down to his ailment. Sophia comes out using Rollout super effectively into Golbat, but the Poison Fangs are too much for her too. Finally, I send out my own Golbat, finishing it off. The General's last Pokemon is Torkoal, and I keep Gordon in to do as much damage as possible until I need to switch back to Phineas to drive Team Gold out of the building for good. Before I reach Consolian Town, I need to travel through Celeste Mountain, where I catch Oliver the Onyx. On the other side of the mountain, I catch Sandy the Sandile in the Consolian Desert. Consolian Town is home to the Psychic-type gym leader Ben, but he's currently in the nearby Consolian Temple, so I head that way. First, I encounter Koras outside, who tells me he is curious about a chamber in the ruins that seems impossible to access. I go inside and find Ben, who tells me a bit about the legends of the region we are all in. He says that each of the land's 6 legendary protectors are responsible for keeping a part of nature in balance, and that Team Gold clearly wants to create chaos. We also find an item called the Faraway Flute. He then leaves the ruins to head to his gym, and I follow, catching Lara the Larvesta on my way out. Ben's first Pokemon is Kirlia, who fortunately doesn't have any psychic attacks, so I start with Gordon, taking it out with Wing Attacks. Next comes Baltoy, so I switch into Sandy, who is immune to its psychic attacks. I use Assurance to take out Baltoy, get an attack boost from my ability Moxie, then take out his final Pokemon Solosis in one hit. On Route 5, I run into a man named Orwell, who makes some remarks about Groudon being the legendary protector of the land, then leaves. Immediately after, I have to battle my friend again. I use Phineas to take care of his Ribombee again, and then I switch to Man to take out his new Sandile. I send out Pearl against Frogadier, but she gets confused, so I switch again into Morton to take Frogadier out. Finally, I switch into Gordon to take care of his Nuzleaf. On Route 5, I catch Shauna the Luxio. Then I arrive in Sage Village, where I overhear 2 Team Gold members talking about taking over a city in the region. After fighting them off, I go to find the next gym leader, my dad. He says he's really proud of me, gives me a Master Ball, then heads to his gym to prepare for battle. Before facing him, I catch Francis the Fletchinder in Sage Village. My dad uses Flying-type Pokemon, and he starts with Fletchinder. I send out Oliver to use 4 times effective Smackdowns. Next comes Hawlucha, and fearing its Fighting-type attacks, I switch into Gordon. Gordon takes Hawlucha out with Wing attacks, and my dad goes into his final Pokemon, Scyther. I take Scyther out with a combination of Francis and Phineas to win my 5th gym badge. On Route 6, I catch Brody the Bronzor before running into Orwell again. He tells me that he is renting an igloo in Echo Town and invites me to visit him when I reach it. I arrive in the icy Echo Town and pay him a visit, where he says, "First, I must tell you, I am the leader of Team Gold." He explains that human reliance on the legendary protectors has made our species weak, which is why Team Gold has been removing the protectors from this dimension. He also says he has his sights on a particular legendary Pokemon, Xerneas, the protector of life, who he can use to control everything. After this shocking news, I head to Frigid Mountain to find Alice the gym leader. She is in Kyurem's lair, only there is no Kyurem there since he has also been kidnapped by Team Gold. She then leaves the mountain and heads back to her gym to battle me. I catch Suna the Solrock, then head over there as well. Alice is unsurprisingly the Ice-type gym leader, and she leads with Swinub. I use Man's Fighting-type attacks to take it out. Next comes Lapras, and I keep mana in to continue hitting with Revenge. Last is Sneasel, and I initially switch in Phineas as Man's health was getting too low. However, Sneasel's Dark-type attacks are a little too strong, so I switch to Oliver, now a Steelix, who finishes the fight with Gyro Ball. Only 2 gyms to go. Route 7 is a water route, and I catch Sharon the Sharpedo. I arrive on the deserted Ochre Island, where only one man lives, Lance, the Dragon-type gym leader. I immediately enter his gym to challenge him. Lance's first Pokemon is Dragonair, and I start with Morton. Unfortunately, Morton doesn't know a damaging Fairy-type move yet, but I start by using Confuse Ray, then switch into Oliver. Oliver takes out Dragonair with his own Dragon-type move, Dragon Breath. Next up, Lance sends out Kingdra, and I let Morton back onto the battlefield. Morton is immune to Kingdra's Dragon attacks and resists its water attacks, so I can take it out with Mega Drains. Last is Drampa, and I switch into Krokorok, who is immune to its extrasensory attack. Unfortunately, Drampa's Dragon Breath does a bit more damage than I was expecting, so I have to do a bit of pivoting to get Sharon out safely. Sharon has a super effective Ice Fang that can take Drampa out. After the battle, we hear a cry from Lugia coming from a cave on Ochre Island, so we hurry to see what's wrong. Sure enough, Lugia has been taken too. I head back to Route 7 and follow the water to Iron City, home of the final gym. This fenced-in city has been completely taken over by Team Gold. I catch a Riolo in the city, then head to the 8th gym battle against Steel-type user, Clark. Clark leads with Steelix, so I start with Sandy, who uses Dig. Unfortunately, Sandy gets paralyzed by Steelix's Dragon Breath, which makes 2-turn moves much more difficult to use. I use Sand Tomb instead, and even though I get fully paralyzed on a couple turns, Sand Tomb takes Steelix out. Next comes Clark's scary Mega Lucario. I send out Phineas, now a Delphox, but Lucario has great coverage and takes my starter out with Bone Rush before I have time to attack. I was disappointed to lose my oldest Pokemon, but I had to keep fighting. I take the opportunity to send out Man the Machoke, who can use Revenge for super effective damage and take the Mega Lucario out. Clark's last Pokemon was Doublade, which Man is not going to be useful against. I switch into Oliver and finish the final gym with Crunch, earning my last gym badge with only one troubling casualty. After defeating the final gym, I run into the Gold General. A voice comes over his walkie-talkie saying that Xerneas has been spotted in my home, Peach Town. I want to hurry to help, but the General stops me with the battle. He starts with Lucario, and I take care of it the same way I did with Clark's, Man's Revenge. Crobat comes out next, and I switch into Sharon, planning to use his Ice Fang, but Crobat gets a crit, putting Sharon in danger. I switch it to Oliver instead to use Rock Slide, and this series of unfortunate events happens. Finally, I switch into Francis to finish Crobat off. Next comes Torkoal, who I begin to damage using Man until his health gets frighteningly low. I dangerously send out Francis, who comes incredibly close to dying, but I use a Roost a number of times to heal her back up and take Torkoal out. Finally is Krokorok, and Morton is the perfect counter. I defeat the Gold General for a final time. I head back to Peach Town, where Team Gold has set up a barricade, cornering Xerneas inside. Orwell stands before Xerneas, and when he gives a command, he and Xerneas are both taken to another dimension. Ben arrives in Peach Town, telling me that there is a rare Pokemon strong enough to beat Team Gold, but that it's only accessible using the faraway flute. Unfortunately, I am not a skilled musician, so I need to visit Rachmaninoff in Marengo City to learn to play the instrument. With his advice, I play the flute, travel to the faraway island, and catch Mew, though I decide not to use any legendaries on my team. When I return to Marengo City, Kores is there. He tells me that according to his research, Team Gold traveled to a place called the Distortion World with the help of Giratina. He says that there is a strange rift between the two worlds caused by magnetic fields that is located in the Watchtower in Iron City. I travel there and go through the rift, arriving in the Distortion World. Before me, I see each of the 6 legendary protectors, each ensnared in distortion energy and defended by a Team Gold member. Above them stands Orwell with Giratina looming behind him. In order to get to Orwell, I'll need to free all of the protectors. Each of the guards has a team of 4 Pokemon, each at level 40. These teams are really fun to battle against since the team compositions are so varied. I fight through the first few with ease, but the 4th one gives me some trouble. I had Man out when they sent out their Hawlucha. Hawlucha could do super effective damage to 4 of my 6 Pokemon, and it was strong enough to do substantial damage to the other 2. I needed to make a sacrifice to get a free sub in, so I let Sharon go. This allowed me to send Francis in and start getting flame charges against Hawlucha. Fortunately, Hawlucha was burned by Francis's flame body, lowering its attack and giving Francis extra time to roost and heal up until she could safely take Hawlucha out. I had no issues with the rest of the battle or the other 2 guards, and with that, all 6 of the protectors were free. Now I have to face Orwell and his Giratina. Orwell starts with Empoleon, and I sweep with Man's fighting type Revenge. Out next comes Gallade, so I switch to Francis, who defeats Gallade with a single acrobatics. Arcanine comes in next, and I keep Francis in, using Roost repeatedly to slowly recover. When I'm ready, I take Arcanine down with a critical hit acrobatics. Mamoswine comes next, and I switch back into Man, who makes quick work of Mamoswine with 1 Revenge. The last Pokemon I have to face is the powerful Giratina. Fortunately, Morton is immune to Dragon Claw, so I get a safe switch in. Then Morton puts Giratina to sleep, and I eradicate it with Moonblasts. After the battle, Giratina's Pokeball breaks, and free from control, Giratina sucks Orwell into the depths of the Distortion World, and Team Gold is completely defeated. On to the Pokemon League. Victory Road presents the opportunity for me to get one last encounter, and there are a number of really cool Pokemon I could get. Of course, I get Schubert the Shuckle, which, no offense to Shuckle, but that's a little disappointing. Before I enter the Pokemon League, I need to face my friend one last time. He begins with Crocodile, and there really couldn't be a better counter than Morton. Next comes Beartick, and thanks to it missing Blizzard 3 times in a row, Man is able to come in and take it out without taking any damage. Against Ribombee, I send out Francis, who annihilates it with Acrobatics. Greninja comes out next, and I use Luxray to take it out with Sparks. His final Pokemon is Shiftry, and I switch into Man. Shiftry's Leaf Blades are a little frightening, taking Man to very low health, but Man wins the battle, and I'm ready to face the Pokemon League. The only change I make is swapping out Oliver for Sandy, whose Dark type I might need for the Ghost type Elite Four member. That means I am entering the league with the final team of Francis the Talonflame, Morton the Shiinotic, Man the Machamp, Shauna the Luxray, Gordon the Crobat, and Sandy the Crocodile. The first battle is the Fire type Elite Four member, Daruk. He begins with Talonflame, so I send out Shauna to take it out with Sparks. When Charizard comes in and Mega Evolves into Mega Charizard X, I switch into Francis. What follows is a dozen turns of roosting and acrobatics until I can confidently and safely take Charizard out. Daruk's third Pokemon is Magcargo, so I switch into Sandy. Her Dig Attack is 4 times effective and destroys Magcargo. This gives me the attack boost from Moxie, and I decide to keep Sandy in against Daruk's next Pokemon, Darmanitan. Darmanitan's Hammer Arm takes Sandy's health extremely low, but fortunately Sandy's boosted Dig takes it out in 1 hit. However, I definitely can't keep Sandy in safely against Arcanine. I switch into Francis to take a Flare Blitz, then start healing up with Roost. Arcanine switches to Outrage, so of course I go into Morton, who is immune to Outrage, and Arcanine becomes confused. Then I switch into Man, who starts getting damage with Low Sweep, also lowering Arcanine's speed. However, one more hit from Arcanine would take Man out, so I go into Crobat, which should be faster than Arcanine. It doesn't matter anyway though, as Arcanine takes itself out with the recoil from Flare Blitz. The next battle is against Fairy-type user Isabella. She starts out with Ribombee, which I decimate with Francis's Acrobatics. Next comes Carbink, and expecting a Rock Attack, I pivot into Sandy. She uses Dig to do about 70% of Carbink's health, but then takes a super effective Moonblast. Fortunately, Sandy is still faster and can take Carbink down. Against Azumarill, I switch into Shauna and trade attacks. Azumarill's bulk is tough to get through, but a few super effective sparks do the trick. Next out is Mega Gardevoir, which I don't have a great Pokemon for, but I switch into Morton. Gardevoir gets a critical hit Psychic against Morton, terrifyingly sending him down to 1% HP. Expecting another Psychic, I use the opportunity to safely switch into Sandy as a pivot into Gordon. Gordon is weak to Gardevoir's Psychic, but he is fast. I have to decide between using Poison Fang to get some super effective damage, or Confuse Ray and hopefully get Gardevoir to hit itself, but I decide that Poison Fang is the safer choice to get some damage in. Gordon is no match for Gardevoir's Psychic though, and I lose my first team member on only the second member of the Elite Four. Gordon, who has been with me since before the first gym, is gone. I switch into Francis because she's incredibly fast, and she uses that speed and acrobatics to take out Mega Gardevoir, and then Mimikyu, winning us the second battle. The third Elite Four member is the Ghost-type King, Rome. I fight hard against this challenging Ghost-type team, but he picks off my team members one by one until I'm up against his final Pokemon Aegislash, and I lose. My run is over, stopped halfway through the Elite Four. I was sure that with different strategies and some different luck, I could beat Rome, and I wanted to show off the final two members of the league in this video, so even though my Nuzlocke is over, I tried this battle again just to see if it was possible. Rome begins with Trevenant, so I start with Francis, who takes Trevenant out with 2 acrobatics, but not before losing half her health to a Phantom Force. Next is Drifblim, a Pokemon I need to be very careful about. Francis can take Drifblim out with a few hits, but she is in no condition to do so. I keep on healing with Roost, and since I'm recovering more than I am taking damage from Shadow Ball, I do this until my health is high enough to safely use acrobatics. I get Drifblim down to 7% HP, but Francis is running low and I can't risk losing her to Drifblim's Aftermath ability. I start to heal with Roost until Shadow Ball gives me a special defense drop. Fortunately, by this point, Francis has enough health to take Drifblim out without dying to Aftermath. Next out is Mega Gengar, so I switch into Sandy before it can Mega Evolve. Once the Mega Evolution happens, Sandy is trapped on the field by Shadow Tag and cannot switch. She uses Foul Play to take Gengar out. Next is Frostlass, and I switch into Shauna. Fortunately, Frostlass misses with Blizzard, so I get a free switch. It only takes 2 crunches to defeat Frostlass, but 2 Blizzards against Shauna brings her down to very low health. The last Pokemon is one of the strongest Ghost-type Pokemon, Aegislash. I only have 2 Pokemon left at full health, and Morton is weak to the Steel type. I send in Man, who doesn't have a great way to hit Aegislash since it's immune to Man's stab fighting attacks, but I do 1/4 of its health with Dual Chop. At this point, I see no path to victory without a sacrifice. I think Francis might be able to defeat Aegislash, but her health is so low that she won't survive a hit without healing first. I know I need a safe switch into Francis, so I let Man go down. Rest in peace, big guy. Francis comes in and begins to roost, healing more health than damage she's taking from Ironhead. I get incredibly lucky that Aegislash gets burned by Francis, who has the Flame Body ability. This significantly reduces Aegislash's attack, giving me the confidence to go for Flame Charge, which depletes the remainder of Aegislash's health in 1 hit. The last Elite Four member is Chris, the Water-type Master. Fortunately, I have a Grass-type and Electric-type on my team who will be able to help me through most of this battle. Chris starts with Wailord, so I start with Shauna. Wailord is no match for her Spark attacks. Next comes Lantern, who has Volt Absorb, so I have to switch into Morton. Through a combination of Spore and Giga Drain, I defeat Lantern and end up with full health. Next comes Lapras, who threatens Morton with Ice Beam. Still, I keep Morton in and put Lapras to sleep, restoring Morton's health with Giga Drain while Lapras snoozes. Next out is Quillfish, whose Poison Jab is 4 times effective against Morton, so I switch into Sandy to resist the hit. Next, I'm expecting an Aqua Tail though, so I switch back into Shauna. She does some great damage against the Quillfish before frighteningly being reduced to 2% health. I pivot into Morlul to get Quillfish to use Poison Jab, then switch into Sandy to finish the Quillfish off. Sandy has lost a bit of health, but she gets the attack boost from Moxie. Chris's last Pokemon is a Mega Sharpedo with amazing coverage, including Poison Fang, rendering Morton useless who otherwise would be a perfect counter. I keep Sandy in, and though Aqua Jet does a good bit of damage, my attack-boosted Earthquake is enough to take the Sharpedo down. On to the champion, all the way from the Kalos region, Serena. Serena starts with Delphox, and one Earthquake from Sandy takes it out. She sends out Pangoro next, and I switch into Morton, who can take Pangoro's Sky Uppercut. Body Slam does a lot of damage, but Morton uses Spore to put Pangoro to sleep. I use a quick Moonlight to recover some health, then Moonblast for 4 times effective damage, eradicating Pangoro. Next comes Jolteon, who knows Pin Missile and Double Kick, meaning that Sandy won't be a safe switch since her Dark type makes her weak to Bug and Fighting. I need to get Jolteon to use Discharge so I can get Sandy in without taking damage. Since Morton is out right now, I'm expecting a Pin Missile, and I switch into Francis, who can take the Bug type attack no problem. Since Francis is weak to Electric, Jolteon goes for Discharge, and I get my free switch into Sandy. Double Kick does do a good bit of damage, but Earthquake quickly knocks Jolteon out, giving Sandy the Moxie boost again. Dragonite is Serena's next Pokemon, and since this is the last battle of the game, I keep Sandy in to get as much damage dealt as possible with Foul Play before Dragonite Aqua Tails her. Next I send in Francis, who does good damage with Acrobatics. Dragonite then uses Aqua Tail, doing a ton of damage, but burning itself with Francis's Flame Body. Dragonite is on 5% HP, and while I could easily take it out, I decide to use Tailwind instead to double my team speed. I was planning to sacrifice Francis anyway to the Clay Doll in the back of Serena's party, so Morton could come in for free, and since Dragonite is burned, we both go down on the same turn, meaning now Morton hits the field at the same time Clay Doll does. From there, my speed-boosted Morton uses just 2 Giga Drains to defeat Clay Doll and earn us the title of Pokemon Champions. In conclusion, yes, it is possible to beat my own Nuzlocke, even though I didn't succeed in doing so myself. Some battles were ridiculously easy, and some battles were very difficult, and I would not have won without some good luck. So, just a normal Pokemon game, I guess.